welcome back. I'm Melissa Pineda, and today I will be discussing the book Heretics by G.K. Chesterton. So this book was published in 1905, and it's actually a collection of 20 of his essays. G.K. Chesterton was born in England in 1874. He died in 1936. He was an English writer, philosopher, journalist, Christian apologetic. He was a strong defender of Christianity. He joined the Catholic Church in 1922. Prior to that, though, he was agnostic for a period of time, and prior to that, he was pagan, he says. So, let me begin. Heretics is an interesting compilation of essays. He essentially scrutinizes critics and critics of Christianity and literary giants such as H.G. Wells, George Bernard Shaw, and he criticizes them for priding themselves on their superiority to Christianity. So these are the heretics that he's referring to. And he critiques modern morality, modern in his time, as rejecting Christian values, but not offering anything with which to replace it with. So this is what he criticizes the heretics for too. Like, it's all fine and well to critique Christianity, but you're not suggesting anything in its place. The Christian church was founded, he says, in a weak man, Jesus. And for that reason, it is indestructible. So he says, and I quote, "All the empires and the kingdoms have failed because of this inherent and continual weakness, that they were founded by strong men and upon strong men. But this one thing, the historic Christian church, was founded on a weak man, and for that reason it is indestructible. For no chain is stronger than its weakest link." And you sort of have to think of where Jesus was born into, like the world that existed at that time, the Roman Empire, paganism, violence, brutality. Here enters Jesus, born as a baby, and talks as he, is older, talks about forgiveness of sins and self-sacrifice and turning the other cheek, things of that nature, which were just like unheard of at this time. Everything he said was unheard of at this time. On that note, Chesterton discusses humility. He says that the secret to Christian success lies in humility. So he discusses humility a lot in this book. So does Father Walter Chiswick, actually. I just reviewed his book, He Leadeth Me, on my channel. He was a priest that was imprisoned. He spent 24 years in the Soviet Union in solitary confinement and in a forced work labor camp, actually a few of those. He was moved around from time to time, but in any event, he speaks a lot about humility too, which is very interesting in this context. So Chesterton says that humility is often mistaken for pride, and he claims it's too practical a thing for this world. He says that it's so practical a virtue that men often think it must be a vice. Chesterton says that only the weak can actually truly be brave. He says that the strong cannot be brave. He references Jack and the Giant. He says for the giant to be brave, he would have to keep fighting bigger and bigger giants. Chesterton talks about the problem of drinking alcohol and the problem of excess, drinking in excess. So he says, a new morality has burst upon us with some violence in connection with the problem of strong drink. He says that enthusiasts in the matter range from the man who is violently thrown out at 12:30 in the morning to the lady who smashes American bars with an axe. I mean, his writing is pretty funny. He's quite the humorous guy sometimes. He says that in these discussions, it is almost always felt that one very wise and moderate position is to say that wine or such stuff should only be drunk as a medicine. He disagrees with this. He says that you shouldn't drink because you need it, and don't drink when you're upset, when you're sad, when you're miserable, or else this will kill you. He says you need to drink when you're happy and when you don't need it. He references Omar and the vine, the sacred vine. So Omar Khayyam was an 11th century Muslim mathematician and astronomer. And he says that Omar regarded wine as a medicine. and that Omar would say, drink because you don't know where you've come from or where you're going. Drink because there's nothing worth fighting for. And he speaks about the Muslim religion here, and in contrast to Christianity, where there is also wine, but it is not medicine, it's a sacrament. Drink for the trumpets are blowing for battle, he says. Drink because I know whence you've come and why. Like, this is what Christianity's saying. Drink for I know of when you go and where. So he just looks at wine in these two different religions and perspectives, which is quite interesting. Chesterton says that the most practical and important thing about a man is his view of the universe. He talks about Christian dogmatists. He says that they were trying to establish a reign of holiness and, first and foremost, trying to define what was really holy. He says, but our modern educationists, again, this was modern as in his time, but still relevant today, our modern educationists are trying to bring about a religious liberty without attempting to settle what is religion or what is liberty. So he says that if the old priests forced a statement on mankind, at least they previously took some trouble to make it lucid. It has been left for the modern mobs of Anglicans and nonconformists to persecute for a doctrine without even stating it. He says for these reasons and many more, he believes in going back to fundamentals. So he says this is the general idea of his book, basically like trying to figure out and define like what you believe in. People are far too quick to criticize without being able to explain what exactly they're critiquing, and they're not able to fill the void for what they're trying to tear down, I suppose. So Chesterton says that the real difference between paganism and Christianity is summed up in the difference between the pagan or natural virtues and those three virtues of Christianity, which the Church of Rome, he says, calls virtues of grace. Chesterton says that the three mystical virtues that Christianity has invented, not adopted, are faith, hope, and charity. And at the end of these essays, the compilation of essays in his book, Heretics, he says, let's go on a long journey and enter a dreadful search. Let us dig and search until we have discovered our own opinions. He says that the dogmas that we really hold are far more fantastic and perhaps far more beautiful than we think. I hope you've enjoyed this discussion on Heretics by G.K. Chesterton. It's a really interesting read, and he is quite funny. His humor is sort of injected throughout his writings. The next Chesterton book I plan on reviewing is Orthodoxy. It's meant as a companion to Heretics. Apparently, critics were complaining when Heretics came out that it criticized current philosophies without offering an answer. I mean, Chesterton's answer, of course, is Christ, but in Orthodoxy, he sort of discusses not whether the Christian faith can be believed, but how he personally came to believe it. So that's an interesting one. I just finished that, so stay tuned. Thank you for listening. If you have any questions, comments, leave them below. Subscribe if you haven't already, and if you have any books that you want me to review, I look forward to hearing about them. All right, take care until next time.